Hello, it's Friday, November 18th. You're watching The Big Story with me, Chiao Suen. Subscribe to the Straits Times channel to stay up to date with our live news updates. Now, in just a day, Malaysia could have a new set of leaders. Tomorrow, the country will vote on who will govern it amidst a climate of economic and political uncertainty. And it is looking to be an exciting one. This is the first election where voters have three main coalitions to choose from: Barisan Nasional, Pakatan Harapan and Perikatan Nasional. Joining us now from Kuala Lumpur is Malaysia Bureau Chief Shannon Teoh. Thanks for joining us today, Shannon. So, the parties have had 2 weeks to campaign. What do you think are the key concerns that have emerged, and are there any factors that you think will be game changers here?
Well, when we talk to voters, when we go down to the ground and speak to people, it's always the same economic concerns that they usually have, right? Or developmental concerns, very quality of life questions, and not too concerned about all the political intrigue. But most of the campaign has revolved around the political intrigue, right? Who's working with who? If UMNO wins, does that mean that Zahid is going to be prime minister instead of Ismail Sabri? Is Anwar and Zahid secretly working with each other? These are some of the questions that people are talking about in the coffee shops, but it's not actually foremost in terms of what they're going to vote on. So a lot of the political chatter, a lot of the narrative that is being built isn't going to change what people who have already made up their minds, right? And that's still a large proportion. Probably about 60% of voters probably already made up their mind before the campaign. But then there's that 20-30% extra. That's really going to change when we talk about game changes, right? That's really going to change the calculation, the matrix, because the margins are very fine, right? A 5 percentage point change in any particular seat will swing it over. And if you talk about it nationally, that can change a seat tally for any of the coalitions from 50 seats to 100 seats. So there has been a lot of mudslinging, so to speak, saying that this person is actually working in cahoots with that person, so on and so forth, and playing a bit of the personality politics.
So you mentioned personality politics and the fact that people have already made up their minds. How big of a factor do you think is the influence of social media? And how do you think it could impact the outcome?
Well, the social media is this, it's a bit of a mysterious box, isn't it? You can go into social media, you can see how many likes and how many shares a person has. But in terms of what is the overall picture, right? There are a lot of silent social media users. They don't like anything, they don't share anything, they just view, they just consume. So it's always very hard just to measure on that. For example, Perikatan Nasional chief, Muhyiddin Yassin, he's the former prime minister. You wouldn't think that he's someone who might be big on social media. But on TikTok, he's got the most likes. One video had about 350,000 likes or something like that. And it's very weird. And you're wondering, is this an indicator of support, or people just thinking that his video is cute? So it's social media is there. All the parties are engaged. It's very important part of all of their campaign. But we're not really sure how many people are making up their minds based on the narrative that is being built or even torn down on social media, or in fact, how many have just, on a normal day, you and I, we doom scroll all the way in the late at night, but it's not really going to change our life decisions.
So you're there in Malaysia, right? Could you share with us a bit about what the mood is like on the ground? Any indication as to whether people are excited for a new government? I mean, particularly considering the flood concerns, do you feel that this year is more subdued than previous years?
Well, we talked about social media, and that really kind of changes the way you can read the ground. So it's a bit more difficult this time because a lot of people are getting their information more on social media. It means that they're less engaged in the rallies, the walkabouts. They don't really feel they need to be out there and seeing the candidates, seeing the leaders, seeing them speak in person, right? They can get a lot more information just within the comfort of their own homes, holding the phone in front of their faces. So when you go around and you see smaller crowds, that's what we've been seeing, right? You don't see the tens of thousands that you used to see. You see maybe thousands or hundreds. That's a kind of factor of the size of crowds. So it's a bit more difficult to gauge. But whether there's excitement, let me tell you today, there are people who are trying to drive from Seremban to Ipoh. That's about 300 kilometers. It's taking them 6 hours to get there. I have friends trying to get out of KL towards the East Coast. and they can't even get past Genting Highlands, right? And it's been more than 2 hours. So people are making their way back to their hometowns to vote. And if you think about turnout, the prediction is about 75%. Now that's lower than before, but also we are seeing a huge increase in voters, right? In the registered electorate because of the automatic voter registration. So 75%, which is going to be lower than 85% the last two elections, is still going to be more voters because of the number of voters that have been added to the electoral roll.
So now, speaking of voting, right, I think the questions on all of our minds are, how do you think each party will perform, and do you have any predictions?
It's really very hard to tell because right up until the last few days of campaigning, most of the opinion polls still have anywhere from 20%, to up to 1/3 of voters still undecided, right? So there's still plenty of voters who, many decided even before the campaign. They're hardcore supporters of any particular coalition. But there are many who go into a campaign and decide then. And out of that group, a lot have still not decided, right? 20% can swing the entire election either way. So what's going to happen tomorrow is still up in the air, right? It's too close to call. The ground is really hard to read. But I think what most pundits are saying is that it's going to be a hung parliament. No one is going to cross the magic number of 112 for simple majority. I think that's my call too. I'm not sure who's going to end up with the most, but I am pretty sure we're not going to see a clear winner. So if Malaysians are thinking that they'll wake up on Sunday and there'll be a clear prime minister, they're probably going to be disappointed.
Well, sounds like it could really go either way. Tomorrow is going to be very exciting. Thank you so much, Shannon. And this has been Malaysia Bureau Chief Shannon Teoh. For more Malaysia General Election coverage and analysis, join us for ST Live at 11 a.m. tomorrow for the latest updates as voting gets underway. In Singapore news, operating hours will be extended at all joint testing and vaccination centres and children's vaccination centres. Starting tomorrow, November 19th, until the end of December, operating hours will be extended to 7 p.m. daily, except on the eve of public holidays. This is an initiative to make it more convenient for people to come forward to get vaccinated. Do note that JTVC Bishan will be closed from November 19th, leaving 10 active JTVCs to serve residents across the island. And those who are caught littering and issued a corrective work order may now be spotted cleaning public areas in the city. The first sessions were held this week in the Chinatown and Tanjong Pagar areas, with some offenders having to wear neon pink and yellow vests. The move to expand to the city is aimed at driving home the widespread impact of littering. In just 2 days, the 2022 FIFA World Cup will kick off for a month of exciting football action. 32 nations armed with some of the world's best players will be in Qatar vying to get their hands on the coveted trophy. Due to the extreme weather conditions in Qatar, this is the first time that a World Cup will be played in temperatures of around 33 to 34 degrees Celsius. This tournament could also be the last time that fans will be able to see stars such as Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi on this global stage. Those are our top stories for today. Visit straitstimes.com for more news and our YouTube channel for more videos. Subscribe by hitting the red button below. I'm Chao Suen, and have a great weekend.